Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we've got a new promo pack that we need to be having a little bit of a look at, and it includes a new EX, of which I am a pretty big fan. Now this happens, of course, every time there's a main set over in Japan, not an A set, not a B set, but a main set. We do get an associated promo pack with it. And we get ourselves a new trainer card, a couple of other random cards, and a new EX. Well, the one from Stella Crown has gone and been revealed, and it's got a Veluza EX. And I like Veluza EX. Like, generally speaking, right, the EXs that come with these gym promo packs are not particularly good. I understand and acknowledge that, and I don't particularly care because I like this one. We got a basic Pokémon, 210 HP, which is a little bit weaker than normal, but nothing too major. Single energy, 30 damage, nobody cares. But then we got free energy, 120. You may discard your hand, every card. If you do, this attack does 120 more damage. Cool. I love this. And look, I don't want to discard my hand all the time. I don't want to be constantly discarding my hand. But I really don't think discarding your hand all the time is that big of a deal, because you just go down to a low hand size. Boom, sorted, jobs are good 'em. And you can just chain this attack turn after turn. I've been telling you guys for a while now that a key number in the Pokemon TCG now is 230. That gets pretty much all your relevant basic EXs, things like Roaring Moon, and also things like Iron Hands. And yes, you will KO Iron Hands, but I do think we need to kind of stop for a second and point out the fact that you will be KO'd by Ampu very much. You're a basic Water EX. Of course you're going to be KO'd by Ampu very much for free prizes. Be very careful. But you get free energy on here. You do 240 and keep rolling. Like, if you don't need to discard your hand, if 120 is enough, do 120, but then they should be getting two prizes a lot of the time, and I'm not too worried about discarding your hand. Like, in terms of energy, you probably kind of need to use Baxcalibur here. There are other ways to do it, but accelerating water energy, Baxcalibur is your best way to do it. Why am I not so worried about discarding your hand? Well, if you want more energy, go and use Chen Pao. Boom, that'll go and get your energy out of your deck, jobs are good 'un. We got B-Barrel right now, so just use that. Draw until you got 5 cards in your hand. If you really don't want to discard any cards, you can even use the Squavit B-Barrel combo here, where Squavit shuffles your hand and into your deck, and then you draw 1 card. And okay, fine, that one will end up being discarded, but you can't win them all, alright? It's only 1 card. And then you discard your hand, and then next turn, you just use B-Barrel to go back up and you're good. Yes, there is obviously a possibility your opponent sees you doing this, KO's B-Barrel, and then you've got no cards in hand and no draw engine, which would be super annoying. But look, you need to see how the game's going and play around this, alright? Obviously, try not to leave yourself in that position. That would be less than ideal. But I don't think this is that much of a downside if you build your deck to accommodate it. Obviously, if it is randomly discarding your hand, that's terrible. But there's also like a fun little side note here that we all know that your opponent may well end up using Iono late in the game, or Roxanne, or something like that. And if you're building your deck to make the most of this attack, then you're also just definitely going to be building your deck to play around Iono and Roxanne. And you're actually going to be able to kind of ignore those cards, which is going to be kind of awesome for you. I honestly think we could be onto something with this card here. I think you need to build your deck in a way that you can essentially deal with this. You can deal with the fact that you're losing your hand. But as long as you do, you're doing 240 for free energy on a basic Pokemon with a typing that's able to accelerate energy quite nicely. Like, yeah, I know Chen Pao can get higher than that fairly easily, but firstly, Chen Pao needs to discard a bunch of energy. This doesn't. Secondly, this has a different weakness to Chen Pao, so you're basically covering your weakness while you're here. And I think that all adds up to a very good, very useful Pokemon. One that I like very much indeed. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe this Pokemon is garbage. But I am used to seeing these EXs from gym promo packs being thoroughly underwhelming. And I'm looking at this and thinking this could be pretty good. It is worth noting these promo pack EXs, they can take a while to come out in English. We're not just going to go, right, well, this comes out with Stella Crown. We're going to be getting this at the same time as Stella Crown. That's not, unfortunately, the way it works. There's a decent chance we get this a decent amount after Stella Crown. So, I don't know. Sorry about that. Either way, I'm giving this 4 Wassies. I really, genuinely, legitimately like this card. I like having a basic Pokemon where I can pay the energy pretty easily that can go through a lot of 2-prize Pokemon. And yes, there is a significant downside, but it's one we can build to try and mitigate at this point. But I promised you a new supporter card as well. We've got Billy and Onair. And this is a weird one. It's a supporter card that lets you draw 2 cards. And then draw an extra 2, and this is fine. Pokemon do this a lot. You can draw 4 cards, but it's not a straight draw 4. There's got to be a downside. What's the downside here? You have to have 10 or more cards in your hand. That's weird, right? Draw 2 cards. Then, if you have 10 or more cards in hand, draw 2 more. So the deal here is that you've got to have 8 cards in hand when you play it. You draw 2, then you check, do you have 10 cards in hand? Yay, now draw 2 more. Now there is an argument here that if you've already got 8 cards in hand, you might not need to draw 4. But there's some weird stuff going on here. Now I'm sure most of you when you saw this, or at least a lot of you, went, hang on a second, Tinkaton. Because Tinkaton EX does 30 damage for each card in your hand. Well, if you're 8, you're doing 240. You play this. If you only drew 3 cards, you'd be going up to 330, which to be fair gets almost anything. But now with the extra 2, you're up to 360, and you're good. That will KO anything. 330 is usually enough, honestly. But going up to 340 is pretty good. If you don't want Tinkaton, that's alright, because we've also got Berserker, which does a very similar kind of thing, but as a basic Pokemon. Galarian Berserker V does 20 damage for each card in your hand, but it's a basic rather than a stage 2, and I'm showing you the alternate art here because the alternate art's a brilliant artwork. But also here, getting 4 cards can be genuinely relevant. If you go up to 12, then you're hitting 240. Although again, I still think the Veluza I just showed you is way easier to hit 240 with than Galarian Berserker. But for things like this, it's kind of cool. The other time you might want to use this is, for instance, if you're playing control decks, things like Snorlax. We've all seen that those decks tend to kind of sit chilling for quite a lot of turns, and will often build up a very large hand size. And if you're playing a deck that will grind the game down and build up a very large hand size, actually this could be kind of cool. And then this could let you draw those last kind of card or 2 that you really need to lock in your endgame strategy. I'm not saying these control decks will play it, but I'm saying that if you're not playing something ridiculous like Tinkaton, sorry, but Tinkaton is kind of ridiculous. If you're not playing a deck like that, then the reality is it's probably control decks that kind of lock you and then spend several turns doing very little that have the most likelihood here of actually getting up to that bigger hand size, at least on a regular basis. I know we all get 8 cards in hand sometimes, but not often enough to really make this worth doing. Okay, cool. Also, just from a math standpoint, do remember if you've got 8 cards in hand and you play this, then you go down to 7 cards in hand, you'll draw 2, you'll have 9, you won't draw. So when I say you've got to have 8 cards in hand, that is 8 cards in hand when Billy and Onair is played. If you've got 8 and you play Billy and Onair, you go down to 7, draw 2, you've got 9, the extra 2 don't activate. Not sure if that was clear enough earlier, but I've made it very clear now. Let's give this 3 Wassies. There's a chance, but it's kind of awkward. The other two that have been revealed, we've got a combination of Yanma and Yanmega, and they are maybe not the greatest cards in the history of the Pokemon trading card game. The Yanma's got 60 HP, and you get to look at your opponent's hand for 2 energy while doing 20 damage, which is cool. But 20 damage isn't very much. And I like being able to look at my opponent's hand. It's a handy little bonus, but it's not going to make me want to play the card. As for the Yanmega, free energy, 110, and you switch one of your bench Pokemon. It's not great. They're cool cards. They're nice promos. They're nice to have in your binder. But they are, I'm going to be honest with you, they're both pretty terrible. That's not why you're getting excited here. We are getting excited for the Veluza and maybe the supporter. As a side note, we do have some other stamped cards as well, like we would generally expect. So we've got Professor's Research, both Turo and Sada. And then we got Super Rod and the Ditto from 151. Although it does have promo numbering. So if you're collecting a promo set, you will need these. All of them have promo numbering. I'm not terribly excited about these. They're straight reprints with promo numbering and the gym logo. But hey, I suppose they're there. Oh, and I should mention there's also a holo version of Carmine with the gym logo on as well. So if you go to a battle event held at a Pokemon card gym, then there's going to be a rock, paper, scissors tournament to win this, which is cool. It's a playable card. There we go. That's everything you need to know about the promo pack. So now it's over to you guys. Do you like Veluza as much as I do, or am I getting overly excited for nothing? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Ashley Munns, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person. So shout-out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.